right, interesting speculation in some quarters today. Does Ken Paxton's win last night in Texas over John Cornyn signal a Trump Senate right now? Let's bring in Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson podcast, and Ben Domenech. Ben, I never get it right. Domenech, it's a great name and a great contributor and host of the Big Ben Show. Domenech, I'll get it someday.
I don't
Ben.
hold it against. I don't hold it against you, Larry. You've known me since I was like 8 years old.
I'm just saying I'm so bad. There's nothing wrong with it.
Just go Ben square today. You're easy.
It's just, honest to God, it's too much talk about Iran. Anyway, I'll ask you, Ben, is this signal a Trump Senate? And it is interesting. Okay, so John Cornyn's out, although, you know, hospitably, President said about John Cornyn, John will remain my friend for a long time to come as we both watch Ken become a fantastic common sense senator. Okay, so Mr. Cornyn's out. Cassidy is out of Louisiana. He got with, and then you've got all these, let me see, Daines, Joni Ernst, Tom Tillis, of course, Mitch McConnell. They're all out from retirement. So we don't know who they'll be replaced with yet 100%. But, you know, everybody Trump endorses, Ben, wins. So is it a Trump Senate?
You got to specify which Ben, Larry.
Oh, my God. Ben Domenech. How about that?
There you go.
Okay, all right. Okay. So here's the thing. I actually think that the president has made very wise choices when it came to his endorsements this cycle. You aren't seeing the kind of situations where people were being rewarded for loyalty even if they couldn't win in the general. Everybody who he's endorsed this time around is someone who can conceivably win in the general. And that's something that I think is a key statement in favor of his political organization in Trump 2.0. The problem, I think, a little bit with this Ken Paxton situation is that Paxton has never been a good fundraiser. He's not somebody who's brought in the dollars. And Texas is a very expensive place to run in, as my fellow Ben knows. And that's a situation where I think, unfortunately, you might see some resources have to go to Texas from the National Republicans that they would prefer to be spending trying to hold on to that North Carolina seat, trying to take the seats in Georgia and Michigan. And that's going to be something that they're going to have to deal with over the coming months.
But, you know, Ben Ferguson, the opponent, Tallarica, he's a crazy person. I mean, he's a crazy person. There's just
That's putting it mildly.
He's just crazy. So, I mean, I thought Paxton was very clever in promoting the Save America Act, the Voting Rights ID Act, and I think that really resonated. You know, and I think also busting the filibuster resonated too. Two things.
No,
neither one. John Cornyn was kind of lukewarm on both. But this guy Tallarica, what is this? There's 6 genders. Jesus is non-binary. He's for higher taxes. He's for an open border. I mean, he's a crazy person.
No, he is. And not only that, he's running what he described as a vegan campaign, where his campaign only orders food from vegan places because we're going to save the environment. If there's any way not to get Texans, farmers and ranchers and guys that drive trucks and families that just want to have a normal life to vote for you, start off with a vegan campaign. Start off by saying that the Bible says that abortion is okay. Start off by saying the thing you care about the most is trans kids and mutilating kids. Start off by saying, hey, Texas, I'm a guy that believes that God is non-binary. And, oh, by the way, there's like 6 different genders. When you look at what he says as a, right, exactly. But he also says he's a pastor. So then there's like a part of this that's like just straight up blasphemy of the Bible. That insults a lot of voters. And look, I also think here, you go back to the fundraising aspect that Ben brought up. It's a great point. Ken Paxton has a really good team around him. And they've been really smart with their ad buys. They saved a lot of money during the primary. He barely spent $2 a vote in the first open primary. Why? Because he didn't have to spend more than about $5 million. Yeah. And then you had Cornyn spend over $100 million. So I think the money's going to come in. I think he's learned a lot from having this second runoff. I actually think it's a blessing in disguise to have this runoff, because he realized he's got to get the money coming in.
Ben Domenech, do you think anything will change in the Senate between now and the midterm election? I mean, they've got, if you ask me, they ought to do something. I mean, they haven't even done DHS. Yeah. They got a lousy housing bill, Ben. They're not doing any tax cuts. They're not getting the voting rights things through. They're not even making a big deal about J.D. Vance's crusade against waste, fraud, and stealing the taxpayers' money. I mean, they really haven't done anything since they passed the reconciliation a year ago.
Larry, I have been screaming this from the top of the mountain in terms of the direction that this party is currently taking. They're headed into a midterm where the history is against them. All the factors are against them that we know about. At the same time, they're actually kind of holding strength when it comes to both the redistricting situation. They've actually, sort of improved their lot there. And you could see a situation where there are people who win on the Republican side who you might be surprised by. The situation, though, right now is the Senate and the House, they are locked in battle against each other and even against, in some cases, the president. There's a lot of resentment toward the president for having endorsed Paxton over Cornyn. And this is the thing, I think these guys need to swallow hard and sack up. I mean, this is a situation where you have to understand you stand together or you will fall. And I unfortunately think that this Republican Party, they need to understand this moment, and they haven't really heard the voices of the voters yet. They are too insular. They are too much focused on their infighting and that kind of thing. That needs to change in order for them to get a chance.
You got too many old guys. You got too many old guys in the Senate that, by the way, just hate Donald Trump right now, and that's not what they were sent there to do. Like, stop hating Donald Trump. Listen to people.
All. Just do something. Just stand there and do something. Ben Ferguson and Ben Domenech. There you go, Ben. Ben Domenech. We're delighted to have him on.